Sure.
Can I have the? Yes. Okay.
So you
Is it finishing?
that. Like that. Okay. And here you are. Okay.
Do you have to introduce me or?
No, it's okay. You introduce yourself. Sorry.
That's fine.
Okay. Good.
Hello, good afternoon. Thanks very much for coming. You're most welcome from the Easter break, and I really appreciate the time you've made to be with me this afternoon. I want to give a little account. Through research, early childhood education, which quite often I'll be referring to as ECE, is considered to be an important part, playing a crucial role in the life of the individual child. And what they are saying is that, for example, Shankoff and Phillips indicate that the early childhood create the opportunity where children first learn to interact with others. Is that social platform that children have the opportunity to interact with each other. And also, we told that it lays the foundation for the individual's life in terms of the formation of intelligence or the development of intelligence and the personality of the individual. There are a lot more that research has indicated about the early childhood education. And maybe, arguably, it can be said that because of that, it has given or it has received an attention for its development. And if I talk of its development, I'm talking about proper development, the best way to organize this early childhood education. If I talk of early childhood education, I'm talking about that education that is given or provided for the individual. Lockett and Co. say that it is that education that is given to individuals prior to their formal school. And ESA 2003 says that that education, that is early childhood education, encompasses developmentally appropriate programs that serve children from birth through to age 8. I must say that individual nations and societies have a way of defining it as the age range. In this particular study, it will be focusing on the ages between 3 and 6, though it is between 0 and 6. But this study will focus on those between 3 years and 6. So that education that is provided for that individual prior to their formal education is what I'm referring to as the early childhood education. And the attention it has received for the past 2-3 decades has caused, it even led to UN to come out with a kind of policy globally. There was a conference in Jotem, Thailand in 1990, which highlighted the importance of early childhood in the life of the individual. And so this was November 1989. By March 1990, there was an adoption of a UN convention to look for the education for all. And that brought about EFA, Education for All, in March 1990. From there, countries have developed policies to see to the proper development or provision of early childhood education in those countries. For example, in Scotland here, there is this policy which was, well, it has come up for some time, but now what is operating is getting it right for every child. and we have the No Child Left Behind, No Child Left Behind in US, which was in 2001. And in 2002, the government of Ghana set up a committee to look to the reform of education. And this reform of education committee came out with a recommendation, and through the consultation of that committee with the Social Welfare and Ministry of Education, they came out with Early Childhood Development Policy, which the government issued a white paper on it in 2004. So I'm saying that it's not only globally, but as far as Ghana is concerned, there is also a policy, Early Childhood Education Development, which was adopted in 2004. Well, it was to be implemented from 2007, but at least there is a policy also in this. And we can argue that because of this attention that is given, children are now being enrolled in these early childhood centers or schools. There is increase in demand for the early childhood services now globally, and ILO, International Labour Organization, attests to the fact that globally, and this was 2009, there has been a shoot up, an increase in the demand for early childhood education. And in Ghana, it's quite tremendous. As you can see, in Ghana, from 2001 or 2001, we had, I don't know whether I'm blocking somebody's.
Okay.
There were 9,634 early childhood schools, and it's rolled all the way to 23,402 in 2011. And enrollment was, let's say, 250,000 in 2001. And by 2011, it has risen to 1,803,932. These things are proving to the fact that there is increase in demand for the early childhood services. And some argue that because of the increase and the fact that people are patronizing, children these days are spending relatively more time at the early childhood centers than in their homes. So if this is the case, then it is important that we look at what they do there, what happens there, since they are spending more time. And so Silver and Co. in 2004 emphasized that we shouldn't just praise or go about talking about early childhood education, but we should rather emphasize on the quality of it, because the quality early childhood education forms the individual's lifelong learning capacities. How the individual will be able to build on his or her life after that is dependent on the quality of the early childhood education. It develops the children's pre-reading, pre-mathematics, pre-writing, and all those skills. So it is important that emphasis is laid on the quality, not just providing it. And UNESCO 2005 says that the quality of the children's learning, or the quality of early childhood education, influences the children's learning. And how well they learn also influences how often they will even go to school, which means that the quality aspect is important, that should be emphasized. But then the question is, what is quality? Because it's quite a problematic, concept that individuals and societies have ways of defining it. And this led me to some conceptual theoretical framework about some learning theories and what they say about quality early childhood education. Now, constructivist theory with the assumption that the school is not just a place where children go to be taught, was what I settled on. Now, they say that the individual goes to the school, the child goes to the school with free knowledge, with trial knowledge. And what the school does is that, or what the school is supposed to do is to work on that knowledge the individual has so that it can be built on. They believe that the individual has the innate capacities or the potentialities to develop. And so the individual learns to create knowledge. That is the assumption. The individual learns to create knowledge. And it's not as though somebody else somewhere pours the knowledge on that individual. These are some of the assumptions that the constructivist theory hold. Some educational models like the Froebel, the Montessori, and the Reggio Emilia's have been incorporated, but because of time. But the idea is that they all share similar views as far as the child's ability to create knowledge or learning is concerned. And they all also emphasize on the importance of interacting, the individual interacting in the environment and using a lot of play. So as far as they are concerned, they argue that the curriculum for the school should be very interactive, and it should be developed based on the interests of the learner. It should not just be emanated, or it should not just come up for its sake, but the interest of the learner should drive what curriculum should be developed for that. And the curriculum that is developed should create the opportunity or the platform for that individual to interact and so do well with that. And because of that, in Reggio Emilia, there is no formalized curriculum. They try to develop the curriculum based on the interactions and what comes out from the children. The physical environment, they emphasize that it should be very conducive and it should be very interactive. It should be made up of items or material that the children can easily and safely manipulate. With respect to teachers, they agree, or they indicate that teachers should not be people who pour knowledge, but they should co-create the knowledge for the individual child. They should give the children, they should create the setup and allow the child to develop the knowledge through that. And the pedagogy or the teaching skills should be purely child-centered, where the individual child is given the opportunity to interact. Now, still on this and the difficulty in quality, I may say that this is how the constructivists and these educational models I'm talking about perceive quality. But, for example, Barrett and Co. in 2006 also perceived quality or debated quality from the perspective of the economist and the progressive humanistic point of view. For example, the economists think that what you put into education, if that education is considered to be of quality, it should be able to bring out an individual who excels. And to them, quality education should be cost effective. And by this, they mean that that education should help the individual not to drop out, but to be able to perform well while staying in school, should be able to perform well at the end in international exams. The progressivists rather think that education, or that quality education, should be value-based. That is, it should be based on the society's aspirations, not just what put in. So what you are putting in should emanate from what the society thinks is of importance. So they emphasize on the inputs, the process, and the outputs. The economists think that it is the input and outputs. Process doesn't matter. And these are the challenges that are there with quality education. And in Ghana, emphasis is placed on input, process, and output. And the input aspects, they look at the teachers, the availability of the teachers, and the facilities available, educational facilities available for the provision. With respect to the process, they emphasize, or Ghana emphasizes interaction as a core in delivering the early childhood education that it assumes will lead to quality provision. And the outcome is that that individual who comes out from that education, which is considered to be of quality, should be able to participate in national debates, in social activities, and perform in a town. Now, from what I'm saying, you can see that when one says this is of quality, another might think that no, it is not, because it depends on what they are looking at. But then it went on, and what all these things having come up, reports were coming from OECD, Organization of Economic Development, visit.
Cooperation and development.
Yeah, cooperation and development. Thank you. And UNESCO and the EMIS. EMIS is the Management Information System of Ministry of Education in Ghana. They were all coming out with the problem that quality of education in Ghana is not of high standard as is expected. And some of the concerns they raised were that the teaching materials were not enough. Children were being taught in dilapidated buildings, and the teachers didn't have the requisite qualifications. And training sessions were short. These were the concerns they were raising. Of course, somebody will say that teachers, or argue that if teachers don't have the needed qualification, then they might not be able to interact, they might not be able to adopt what strategy that must be used in teaching the children. So with these concerns coming up, and one of the concerns again was that classrooms were overcrowded. I considered all these things, and the question that came up is that if these things are there, then how, if classrooms are overcrowded, how can the teachers interact with the children? And how can they have individual attention for the children? If they don't have the teaching learning materials, how will the children be able to interact well in the classroom and manipulate the materials so as to learn? And this led me to the question as to, if we are talking about equality, then the quality that I would consider will emanate from the kind of interaction that goes on there. So I want to investigate into the quality of early childhood education using interaction as the measure. Because if classrooms are so overcrowded, if teachers don't have the prerequisite knowledge and the trainings are short and teaching learning materials are there, then there will be a problem with interaction, with individual attention. Now, with this, in the interaction that I'm talking about, I'm referring to the cordial and the positive relationship that exists between ECE teachers and their children, and among ECE children, and also teachers and teachers and teachers, and the parents that bring their children or have their children in these early childhood schools. It will involve the opportunity teachers create for children to come to them, the freedom that the children will have in being with the teachers, how welcoming the teachers are to the children. This is the interaction that the study will be looking on. And I must emphasize that, yes, we know interaction is a two-way affair. but the interest is not on the children for this study. The interest is rather from the teacher to the children. So, why interaction? From Holmes et al., it forms the core of the process quality. Mostly in assessing quality early childhood education, the measures or the dimensions are input, process, and output. And it is argued that the process is the core of the measure. And the core of the process is interaction. And that is why I want to focus on interaction in assessing the quality of early childhood education. Again, in most early childhood education quality assessment, interaction forms a major part of the assessment. So, this led to my conceptual framework. The conceptual framework that is being adopted for this study, or the quality early childhood framework that is going to be used, will focus on how interactive the curriculum is, or the opportunity the curriculum creates for children to interact. It will look at the professional learning systems, and by this I'll be talking about, I'll be looking at the teachers' training, the qualifications they have, the opportunities that they've been having to train. I'll look at the pedagogy that is being used in the early childhood settings and how quality of how interactive it is, and then the kind of environment that the early childhood education is being provided. So this will be the conceptual framework for the study. And so the question or the research questions that emanate from the literature are that: one, how do early childhood education providers and parents perceive the role of interaction in early childhood education or the provision? What is the quality of the professional learning systems of early childhood teachers? To what extent does the early childhood education curriculum meet the learning needs? And in what environment is the early childhood education being provided? These are the research questions that have been formulated through the review to guide the study. Now, having had the research question, the question is, or the next question that will be of interest is, how do you go about collecting data for that? And so the emphasis was on which research design will allow these research questions to be answered. And that led the study to the adoption of the pragmatic paradigm, which is associated with mixed method research. So that is what the design that is proposed for the study. The argument is that the mixed method or the pragmatic paradigm does not restrict itself to a particular method of data collection or analysis, but it focuses on the question or the research questions or the problem that the individual wants to investigate, and look at how best which methods can be combined for the research questions or the problem to be addressed or solved. So that is why I want to concentrate on this. And the mixed method research, the design that will be adopted, is the concurrent triangulation mixed method research. For the concurrent, data is supposed to be collected within the same time frame, and the data is collected such that one data will not inform the other. Sometimes there is another one which is sequential, where you collect, for example, qualitative data, and based on the findings you do quantitative follow-up. This is not going to be like that. The two are going to be done at the same time, and they will be independent of each other. So with the mixed method design, the quantitative aspects will use questionnaire in collecting the data. But then the research methods, for the quantitative, though in mixed method can be considered as a methodology which involves the philosophical assumptions and how data will be collected and analyzed. And the method is the data collection aspect. So the method, the data collection and the analysis that will be used will be the quantitative for the questionnaire. The questionnaire will be in a form of closed-ended instruments. It is still ongoing, so I might not be able to give the details, but at least generally I can say that it will be in two parts, one for the biographical data of the individual and the other one will deal with the research questions. And for the qualitative method, case study will be used, and the case study that will be used, there will be interview and there will be observation within the case study for the qualitative data to be collected. With the study site, this study is going to be done in Ghana, and in Ghana it will be done in Accra. Accra is the capital of Ghana, which is a country in West Africa. It's quite central, not in position, but the fact that it attracts a lot of people into the city. Educationally, Ghana has national, regional, metropolitan, municipal, and district. So as far as the Accra is concerned, it has 7 educational districts and 35 circuits. So 2 of the districts will be selected, and the 2 districts that will be selected, it will be such that it will have a site that has a rural aspect and an urban aspect. And the 2 will be like that. That district that has a rural component and at the same time a city component. So the data, the sampling procedure will be purposively, not only purposive, random, and the convenience. Purposively, these 2 districts will be selected, and from each district, 2 circuits will be selected, and from each circuit, 4 schools will be selected. So we'll have 2 districts, we'll have 4 circuits, and we'll have 16 schools. And the selection will be done in such a way that every circuit, which has 4 schools, will have one of the schools which is a privately owned in a rural area. The other will be publicly owned in a rural area. Then another school will be privately owned in an urban area, and the other one will be publicly owned in an urban area. So that is how the procedure will be. So in all, I'm going to use 183 respondents, and it will be made up of 80 parents whose children will be in the schools that will be selected, 80 teachers, the 16 head teachers in those schools. Then there are 2 national early childhood education coordinators, the metropolitan early childhood coordinator, and the circuit coordinators for the circuits selected. So that will be the sample. The data collection procedure will be such that for the questionnaire, when the individual respondent is located or identified, then the intention or the purpose of the study will be told that individual, and the individual will be told to look through and take the paper or the questionnaire, respond to it at his or her own time, and return it after 2 weeks. The interview will also be conducted in such a way that it will not inconvenience the individual. A scheduled time which will be convenient will be arranged. And the observation will be done in the 4 schools that will be selected for the case study. And it will be such that a week will be spent in the school, but then each activity, which will include the teaching of the teachers, interaction in and outside the classroom, the facilities available, will be such that it will not be done at the same time. That is, if you go there in the morning watching or observing a teaching, the next day you go in the morning and observe a teaching. No, it will be varied such that you can have a fair idea of whatever goes on in the observation period. Caution is given because there is an argument that when you are observing, people might try to cover certain things, and so it's proposed that the intentions of the study will be made known to the teacher, that it is not just for a kind of inspection or whatever. It's an academic exercise, so they should feel free, and it is hoped that they will feel free to provide whatever knowledge that or skill that they have. With the data analysis, the quantitative data, the study will use descriptive statistics in a form of measures of central tendency, variability, relative position, and relationship. The qualitative data will use the proposed thematic analysis by Sterling in 2001. I may not have enough time to give the details about that, maybe during the question time. So the reliability of the instruments will be assessed using Cronbach-Alpha's internal consistency coefficients. The idea or the reason is that most of the items will be in a form of Likert scale, and so it will be appropriate to use that. And the study will be piloted. It is hoped that the study will be piloted within 6 weeks in the Efiti municipality, which is one of the cities in Ghana. And the steps will follow the same as the main study. It will use 46 respondents, 4 schools, 5 teachers, 5 parents in each school. So we'll have 20 teachers, 20 parents, the head teachers, 4 of them, the municipal coordinator, and the circuit supervisor. So there will be 46. The idea is that by going through the pilot study, it will give the study a foretaste of the actual one, so that if there are any corrections to be made, it can be made. And again, it will test the efficacy of the instruments and the data collection processes, see how well we will be able to. For the qualitative aspects, the researcher argues that the qualitative data will be listened to and also ensure that the purpose of the study is told the people so that they will come out well to give whatever is expected of them. And detailed information will be given. Detailed information of the processes, the steps involved will be given so that individuals can follow it. With the validity, that is one of the things that I'm doing. I know I'm going to have wonderful contributions from here so as to shape in the instruments. And for the validity in terms of the qualitative data with respect to credibility and trustworthiness, detailed processes again will be given as far as the data collection and the analysis and all things are concerned. And the transcription will be done verbatim so that whatever was said will be the order that comes out, and it will be triangulated as well. I mean, the sources, the data from the various sources will be triangulated. Ethically, I'm anticipating that participants may not be ready or be willing to provide the needed information. And sometimes a teacher may want to vary the way he or she will interact because he or she might think that there's somebody, there's a kind of inspector there. So the needed permission letters will be secured so that presenting that they will know the formal nature of the work. And then the purpose of the study will also be made known to them. And they will be reassured that it's not a matter of somebody coming there to inspect them. It is for academic purpose. And they'll be reassured again of their confidentiality and the anonymity of whatever information they provide. That is how their fears will be addressed. And it is argued that the steps taken to address the anticipated ethical problems or concerns are in line with what School of Education and the Scottish Education also provide, because in that guideline, the individual is expected to give the respondents the opportunity to decide to withdraw or to continue, and to know why the data is being collected, how it should be used at the end. With respect to the data management, it's proposed that when it is collected, it will be secured and unlocked, cupboards and passwords and whatnot, so that nobody can have access to it. Yes. Okay, then supposedly they are supposed to be references, and then the end of the presentation. Thanks so very much for your attention.
Something we haven't said, Samuel is approaching his data collection, you're going to get students, as well as approaching your rate. Any questions aimed at helping Samuel to think through with that in mind?
Can I ask you a couple of something?
Yeah.
The first that you talked about was the increase in provision for early years education. Is that because the government funded places rather than parents having to pay for it? Is it funded by the government? Is that why the uptake has increased?
Well, it's something that is actually to be investigated, but at least for those individuals who go to the government school, they don't pay fees. Yes, it's free for them.
From age 3?
No, from whatever time that they go.
Okay.
Whatever time. In fact, up to the end of JHS, those in government schools don't pay fees.
Okay.
Yes. But it is those in private that pay.
So 3-year-olds in Ghana are under the education system, not a care system. It's seen all within the education system from the age of 3.
Yeah, if I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it comes in the remit of the education department from the age of 3.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so the increase, is that because the government is in more funding, or is it because an economic drive to get more parents back into workforce?
Like I said, it might be a combination of them, because I think Silva and Co. in 2004 were saying that the increase can be attributed to parents getting into economic jobs and further studies and all those. Observably, as an individual, I can say that the same thing is happening in Ghana. Parents are working, parents are pursuing further studies and all those. But a study as such has not really proved whether the increase is coming because of these things. But as an individual observing, I can say that, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sammy, if I could, I just want to draw your attention to I know you have that report, Education Review Report 2008. If you look at it, government has given reasons, assigned reasons to how some of these increases has come up. I know, and I think it would be of help if you look at that document.
Okay.
Just want you to, your research questions, I didn't see any question that seek to look at a relationship, but in your data collection, you intend to, as far as quantitative analysis is concerned, to look at a relationship. So yeah, so that is that. Now you were talking about reliability of your instruments and the data, right? You said you just like something to the effect that you wanted to look at the reliability of the instrument and the data. And then again, I wanted to draw attention to the fact that it's the instrument probably that you want to test the reliability and not the data.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to find out if you were so much interested in looking at rural areas, you know, because you chose Accra, and then you want to look at some portions of Accra and then pick some rural areas in Accra. And if you think that the rural areas are so important, why would you choose Accra, which is the capital of Ghana, whilst there are other rural areas that you could look at the particular, what you call it, whether reasons or whether a phenomena that you want to study. I mean, you could get very extreme rural areas in Ghana that you could look at that. And then the issue of the limitation to the age range from 3 to 6, because in Ghana 6 years you should be in primary 1 by the education system. So I was wondering how 6 years should be part of the early child, because 6 years you should be in primary 1, primary 2, primary 3 to 6, and then 3 years of junior high school. So
well, are you there?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Now, yes, that is what the policy states, and it might be theoretical. It might be theoretical. When you get to a primary 1 classroom, you have somebody who is 8 years in primary 1. But what the assumption is that, and again, it's not a clear cut, that sometimes it depends on where the time the individual is born and the age that will push somebody in or out. So that is what the policy says. And so you will have somebody who will be 6 years, but still in kindergarten, and 6 years in. The idea is that it is looking at pre-primary before the individual gets there. Now, with respect to the rural areas, it's a capital, but trust me, there are areas that when you go there, you cannot compare that one to any typical rural area anywhere. So the idea is that care will be taken in selecting the districts. It will not be a district that is within the central place of it. It will be, as I explained, it will be in a district that has the rural components, and their members don't know the place, so if I mention, they will not be. But at least we are in Aberdeen. We have Aberdeenshire. Of course, if you go to a place, you might think that no, this is not a village enough. But you move to another place, still within Aberdeen, and you can see something there. So that will not still negate that fact that I will not have a typical village. Yeah. And again, with the reliability, yes, the instrument is being tested so as to get the correct data. Yeah. You were talking about relationship. I'm talking about relationship in terms of response of a respondent. How that respondent's response performs or falls within the other responses. It's not.
Yeah, and how is that going to answer your questions?
No.
Because the entire analysis is geared towards answering the question.
No,
and the choice of
please.
Okay, the choice
What?
of, I'm just drawing your attention
Yeah.
to the fact that the choice of the type of analysis will, I mean, as far as quantitative data are concerned, will have to come from how we want to answer the question, or the type of question. And in the question, I mean, you did not show any, I mean, any indication of finding relationship. I mean, that's just something that I'm drawing your attention to. Probably, since you are preparing for, maybe it could come up somewhere. But I think that, I mean, the question that you set up, especially the only two, I mean, the clear quantitative question I saw was, to what extent?
Let's go back to the questions, why not?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the only quantitative question I can, for example, I can see is question 3, for example, to what extent does, and sure then you want to quantify, that's why you put that sentence in that form. But in all the questions there, the how, what, to what extent, and then in what kind of all those things. There are no clear, I mean, indications of finding relationship. That's why I'm just drawing attention to. When you came to the data analysis, you said quantitative data will be done, and then in terms of finding relationship. So that's why.
No, maybe you didn't get what I said, that the descriptive analysis will be used, and what the descriptive aspect will do, or the aspect of descriptive analysis that will be done, will be finding the average, using the central tendency, and finding relationship. And the relationship there, that was what I was trying to explain. The relationship there was talking about responses. Sometimes there can be an outlier. All people are saying this, and one person will say that, which is quite extreme. So I'll look at how the responses are faring in terms of the other responses. Not relationship with respect to the research questions. The relationship of the responses, how the responses relate to each other in terms of similarity or dissimilarity, whichever way. Now, you might have observed through the slide that those dimensions indicated as going to be used will assess how interactive they are. So the interaction is going to come up as finding out, or as a feature, how the teachers feature or use interaction, how the curriculum uses or emphasizes the use of interaction in the classroom. So that is interaction that is going to put them together in ensuring the quality. Okay, I stated it there. Yes. The researcher argues that the dimensions indicated in the fluid, yeah.
It might be helpful if you bring that notion of interaction in your research questions, perhaps.
The notion.
Yeah, because the research questions do not really, to be fair, reflect what you just said. What you said in your words sounds very different from what we read on the questions.
Yeah. Okay. But that was the idea. Those aspects are going to feature interaction in their performance. Yeah, that's it.
I'll just you talk about interaction, but you say the focus is on the teacher. But I can visualize and see things where quality of interaction between children is of fundamental importance to the learning of the children. How are you going to be able to bring that in? And what else are you going to be doing to be able to show that the quality of the interaction? Because I can see, you can imagine a teacher sitting in a corner with a couple of children, spending a lot of time interacting with them, doing things. But when the situation might be that the setup does not allow children to interact freely in a role play corner or whatever. So how are you going to get that?
Yes. So that is it. The setup, how the teacher sets the environment up, so that the child on his or her own can interact with the material, or how the teacher will set up the environment so that the children will be free to interact with their peers.
Again, you need questions in that.
Yeah.
What are the features of a learning environment that enables
Okay.
interaction, something
Okay,
like that?
okay.
Yeah, to capture it that
Yeah.
way.
I was looking at your focus on quality again.
Yeah.
About, sorry, about quality again.
Mhm.
And because you're talking about quality of education for early childhood, I noticed you said in Ghana, in terms of input, you're talking about availability of teachers
Mhm.
and facility. Those were the two main important things in Ghana: availability of teacher. And
Well, they were those I mentioned.
in terms of input.
Yeah.
Right. So I wonder about, since we're talking about quality of education here, what about the teacher effectiveness in terms of skills and ability and things like that? If we're talking about quality, even though you have an interaction slant, shouldn't the quality of the teacher skills and professionalism and all of these things also be taken into consideration? Given that we're talking about quality of education, I assume we'll be talking about general quality.
Yeah, I talk about that of the teacher. The input looks at the teacher, it looks at the content, which is in the form of the curriculum, and the infrastructure. But I mentioned an aspect of the teacher that it looks like, that's the teacher's availability. Their training and their competencies are part.
Okay.
Okay, yes, but I couldn't mention everything. Yeah.
Well, I had a couple of questions. The first question, actually same as others, was about role of interaction, because I'm personally interested in that and I've involved that in my research, and I was waiting to see how you're going to assess the role of interaction in quality of, because you mentioned what is the role of interaction in terms of quality of education. I was just wondering how you're going to go about investigating that. The second question was about your question 2. It was, if you could show it again, what is the quality of the...
Yeah.
I was also wondering if you could explain that question and how you're assessing or investigating this one.
Yes, I mentioned that the professional learning systems will include the teacher's qualification, the training, the continuous training opportunities they have and they've had, how the training that they have had already has equipped them with the ability and the skill to use pedagogy and the knowledge about children and how children learn. All those are parts of the learning systems of the teacher. So it is within, not here, but it is the breakdown that will have that. So I explained it, yeah, the professional learning systems, the training qualifications, the training opportunities that you've been having, how it has implemented the model, all those things are included in
No, it's just because you start the question, what is quality? I thought you're probably either going to investigate how quality is perceived by those teachers, or how it is defined by them, or how generally it is defined in the system. I wasn't really sure what area you're looking at. What does that mean?
Well, I will not find out about what they think of quality as such, but in my view and in my definition of quality, it's about how the teachers feature interaction, or how interaction is featured in the delivery. So,
okay, there was no mention of interaction in that question. So I'm
which
not
one?
sure.
Second question.
Yeah.
Second
Yes,
question.
yes.
So that's why it's hard to see the link between quality and...
Well, it's not mentioned, but as I said,
Fine.
these questions there are summaries of what they mean in themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe there is a difference between the broader questions,
Mhm.
which are the aims of your study,
Yeah.
and the working questions, which
Yeah.
are the ones that direct you to the data collection.
Yeah.
There should be much more specifics. There's clear link between the question and the research methods.
Mhm.
In fact, I think we are all not very clear about whether or not you already developed the questionnaires and what are the items, and whether you've got an observation schedule for
Yeah.
your time that you spend in the classroom,
Yeah.
and what other things you're going to be looking at, if not for. So all those things should become
Yeah.
clearer from the question. The questions are too big at the moment
Yeah.
for us to see.
I was looking at your sample size as well. The size of your sample, I was imagining the bulk.
Why?
In terms of transcription afterwards and analysis, the size.
Well,
Yeah.
15 members are going to be involved in the interview. The interview will be 15, and the rest will be the questionnaire.
But you had said that you were going to use concurrent triangulation, which means that you were going to use all those instruments at the same time, right?
Yes.
On the same, is that not the same?
No.
Okay.
The concurrent means the data collection, not necessarily the instrument.
No, I mean, yes. And is that not the instrument?
No, what I'm saying is that the data will be collected within the same period.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the questionnaire will be given, the interview will be done for everybody. No. But whether it is interview, observation, whatever, it will be within the same period.
Okay.
15 members will be interviewed. Yes, and the rest, everybody will have the questionnaire, and 15 members will be interviewed out of that. Yeah, and the observation will be done in 4 schools. That's how it's going to be. Yeah.
May I ask you, you mentioned you're going to observe the classroom.
Yeah.
Which kind of tools are you going to use in order to carry out that observation?
Well, there will be photographing, some still pictures, camera will be used sometimes. There will be observation checklists, which is ongoing, the development is ongoing. Among the things that I will be observing, since the interest is on interaction, it will be the opportunity the teacher creates for children to come to him or her, for children to engage in activities. When the children go out to play, whether the teacher cares, whether the teacher is around them, and if he or she is, what does the person do? How the teacher responds to the needs of the children as and when they occur. The facilities in the environment.
How would you register all that?
How?
How would you register all that?
They are going to be in the checklist. Yes, so as and when they occur, there will be a ticking.
So you said you would use cameras,
No video, still camera.
All right, so it means that if you're going to a class like so many times per month or so on, how comfortable will the children be and the teacher be, you have this camera, your eyes,
Yes, every school will be observed for 5 times.
And not cut across, because we're talking about the fact that you did mention also that when teachers know that they're being observed, they try to do their best.
Yeah.
So if you know you're on camera, of course.
It's not as though every day you go with a camera. That's not how it's going to be. And again, I've indicated that because of that, we know that when a third person comes in, the teachers or even the children, so I will first get the attention of the teacher, explain why I am there to him or her, for the teacher to really understand and accept my presence in there. Then the assumption is that the teacher being with the children will carry it out to the children, so that when they see me in the classroom, they will not be bothered much. Again, it's not as though when I go in the morning, I'll sit in the classroom throughout. It will be a period. It will be a period that maybe it's a lesson delivery. So a short time, then I'll leave for something else. And if there's going to be a photograph, it's a photograph of, if it is a classroom setting, just once. Then it will be something else. So it's not something that always I will do So that I know even if it is once I'm not part of them, that's tension will be there. And this is how I'm hoping to go about it. Yeah.
Sorry, are you video recording?
No, not video.
Yeah, you just said that. Why not?
Well, I want to use this to, the idea is to make the data and the information at the end of the day I'll provide more convincing. So I think that if I have the pictures to support the sayings, to support interview, to support personnel, it will still be able to. Yes, it would have been a good idea.
I think for your own, for the sake of your own analysis and as another support for validity of the description.
And also the context. You need a context in order to make sense of the interactions you'll be analyzing. Why did the teacher ask that question? Whether why the students answered in such a way. So I think a video recording, maybe a teacher's diary, something like other resources. You will need all that if you want to.
Even if you're not analyzing it straight away, but keeping it always as
Yeah.
a background for
You're
making sense
you're
of the
using
words
your
or
personal view of what a good teacher is, and that
Yeah.
might not be what somebody else's view is of
Okay.
quality interaction is.
Yeah.
You're taking your viewpoint, nobody else's, on your observations.
And you're again for validity issues, if you needed to do a peer observation or a second party to come and validate your analysis, then video would be a good, I think, record of your data, and no question about
Just a suggestion about keeping the videoing thing and alerting everyone, yes, I'm here. How about if you're videoing, but you can set up your instrument in the classroom and not be there physically? You don't really need to be there. You can be somewhere else in school, so it gives freedom to the children.
The kind of setting, I'm not sure whether setting it. I'm talking of the context within which I'm not sure whether it will allow such a thing, a camera to be fixed somewhere, for the camera to do its own work. I'm not sure.
Okay.
That would have been fine anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
I think it's something that you could explore as well.
Well, okay.
Just final comment about all this ethics that goes on and on the ground, would be worth to sort of bear it in mind, because it seems that you're going in a context that should be possibly under-resourced for what you said, large schools, large numbers, teachers under pressure because of all this government watching them, providing quality provision, and you're there, you're not taking pictures.
Yes.
So I was just thinking about the possibility also of alongside videos to have conversations with teachers at the end, with respect to what they perceived to have been a good interaction, positive interaction, where they felt themselves happy with being there, rather than at times under stress, under duress. So I had to run because the children are all was happening, and I'm just running behind them, and I didn't do the best I could do, and they feel stressed themselves. And you will not be able to capture that unless you talk to them. You will be able to write down teachers stressed out, responds badly to children, bad interaction. But if you talk to them, and that so include maybe some conversations and to really be mindful of the climate that you're working in.
One of the questions I asked is the classrooms that you're talking about, the schools in Ghana. Is it always set structured? Is it open space classes, or is it like enclosed in rooms? This room is this
Supposedly they are in enclosed rooms.
each class.
Yeah, sometimes. In some cases you may have where it's an open kind of with something dividing it, a plywood or something. Dividing it.
That will make it more difficult for class control when you have the open thing.
Well, then that will go back to the infrastructure. So affecting the quality.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
thank you very much for coming and
You have to run for your money. Alright, I'll have to do something with this.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, you can.